and the things that we talked about, I don't remember people by name. So I'll be like, Bree, I met you months ago. This is where we met. Like, this is what we talked about. But names are just like.
My mom still refers to all her kids as you, that one. You right there. Tell one you are. Or yeah.
I'm going to pull up the questions. Give me a moment. But we're alive.
We're alive.
We are alive. We're space.
Maybe we're names. We should have name tags. We just write it on our hands. Hi. That should be the new thing, like instead of the name tag, it's like the name mask. Yeah. I'm so excited. Just don't do that. Give me your mask. They'll never know.
Yeah, can we like inhale and exhale together, please?
Yes.
3 big ones. Ready? Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale.
Should we get into child's pose?
I mean, if you'd like, more than welcome to. Okay. All right. So we are. Wow. Okay. A lot of people jumped on. We are here. Yes. First and foremost, to get started, one thing I wanted to say, because this was a huge question, is I'm not holding this discussion because a lot of people didn't know I was going to have you guys here. So they're like, why is there a man doing a discussion with, like, talking about femininity? Who is he?
What you talking about?
Right, and then, so like, yes. So this is why. This is what's really happening. But someone I was also speaking to, he is the father of a Vogue house called the House of Mulan, but he's like the grandfather, father of the entire empire. And I was speaking to him, and he was like, even if you held a discussion where you had other females there, you still have just as much of the right to speak about femininity, because femininity is not something you own. Femininity is something you just have and can tap into, or you can't. So if you want to speak about femininity, you have the power to do that, whether you're a male or a female. And I was like, so I just wanted to share that, because I was getting a lot of shit about it, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. I get it, I comprehend it, and I'm not mad for it, because I understand, or I'm starting to understand, that there's an underlying pain. And the reason why I have you guys here is because not only myself, but I want people to understand where that pain comes from. Where it comes from? Who created this? Why is it there? Is it still there? How can we heal? What do we need to do about it to create a space for us to heal that pain? Does that make sense? Just so that's that. Now the first, the most important, femininity exists. Does toxic femininity exist? This is for y'all who are listening, as well as you guys. Whoever wants to take it first, please do so. If I may take the camera and just bring it towards you so the person knows who's speaking. But
I'm gonna say it does exist, but I'm gonna say that I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that toxic femininity is a byproduct of toxic masculinity.
Short and brief. Okay. Anyone else?
I think there's privilege in it. Right? So I think it is stemmed from toxic masculinity, but then even within femininity, there's levels of toxic femininity, right? When you think about toxic masculinity, it's who we think of is white cis men, right? And so I think about toxic femininity in stages, right? Of like how we see beauty is modeled after white cis women. And so how we decide to walk through life with that has varying levels for people. So it does exist, but it doesn't mean the same thing for everyone.
Something I wanted to ask is, would you say toxic femininity is going based off of what you said? You said levels. You said this also stems from masculinity. Would you say toxic femininity is all entirely based off of toxic masculinity, or you would say most of the portion?
All of it. I think it'd be important for us to kind of define what we're describing as toxic femininity.
Right.
Femininity being toxic is when we, teach little girls through message to a certain idea of femininity in terms of beauty, right? Like I know personally for me, I have large feet. I'm a, larger bodied woman, and growing up, you're taught that femininity is you're slim, you have small feet, you have small demeanor, you don't take up a lot of and that's very toxic, but that stems from toxic masculinity, this idea that we have to be smaller, we have to be quieter, we have to walk behind. And so that's one level of toxic femininity, but I think there's others, and I'm interested in hearing what other people kind of define as toxic femininity.
So before we get to defining toxic femininity, what you guys believe that is, or toxic in general, I just wanted to hear from the rest of you. What do you feel it is? What is toxic femininity? Does toxic femininity exist? Because I see everyone be like, not everyone. Some people are like yes, and some are like. So, for those of you who do oppose that,
I don't know if I oppose it. I can understand how it can be like a separate thing. When I think toxic, no matter what's in front of it, it's like it's toxic. And then it's like, yeah, where did that toxic come from? So yes, it may have been from something, but it's like a buildup from something else that was either masculine or feminine. So it's like a web of whatever masculine or feminine. So I'm just okay, and then I can understand how it can have two separate sides or spaces because it's an influence of something else. So like your sense of us as women, there's this caricature of what we're supposed to be, and then there's this box. So everyone that's not in this box is like, fix yourself because you're not. It's like a toxic or negative energy that's inserted, or if it's from, and that comes from us being impressive to a man then, I guess, because what are we trying to look good for? Or the image of, so it can be, from one person's experience, it can be masculine or feminine, from another, it can be the total opposite, in terms of when I first heard it, I'm like, oh, I guess it can have a separate side or masculinity, but for me, just toxic in general, just like, when you just figure out where it came from that space, and figure out how I'm going to react now, or like whatever that is. fits, but I don't know.
Mm.
So I'm kind of just like, I'm like marinating on the separate, how it can be separate and how it can be more potent when it's separate, you know, instead of so broad. So I'm just kind of like marinating on the feminine toxic, but toxic in general is just, for me, it's like, okay, well, this feminine, I guess now using that phrasing, is connected to this type of energy or toxic, so it can be separated to kind of define the experience, you know?
So that makes sense. So would you say it's just initially toxic? Anything that has toxic connected to it can create dysfunctional or a negative dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
To whatever is connected to that. Okay. Anyone else want to share in regards to that? I saw you looking at me like this.
It was the process.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of relate to that. So the toxicity comes to the point when it doesn't relate to you. So it could be both feminine or masculine side. You just kind of check in with yourself. How does it feel? Is it toxic or it's nurturing?
Toxic, anything can come from an imbalance. Like that's like combined, like that's what I'm hearing is like toxic imbalance. I don't believe that comes heavily from masculine or heavily from feminine. I think there is a balance right in that, and when you're off, and then it keeps going, and if you're unaware, then I think the toxic part might weigh in more. If you're unaware that there's any imbalance, and it's not a blame, it's not a, in my opinion, I don't think it's a, I'm going to blame on my masculine energy. My masculine energy is stronger in me, but it's not blaming anything about my internal or external masculine energy if I'm experiencing toxic or my femininity. It's just a balance is off. It can come from either end. Because something's strong or because something's weak.
Yeah, just maybe accepting that you can feel both sides of yourself and not being judgmental about feeling masculine because of society makes you think, or maybe because of your roots, that ladies supposed to behave in a certain way or look the way, and you just check whatever is happening. I think it's just in general, you check in with yourself first. If that's true to you, if it speaks in that specific moment for you, that's right. And yeah, agree.
And just to clarify, when I said that I felt that it came from toxic masculinity, I didn't mean like within ourselves. I meant like external toxic masculinity.
External, like
male identified.
Like male.
Toxic That's also something that we're allowing then as well, because they can put that on us as much as they want, but we're allowing that to influence us.
I think that was more
So
what it is. I think as you get older, the more masculinity, male, female, any kind of any toxic that comes to you, it's how much you're able to take in. So with growth and going through that, you grow like a layer where those things kind of knock off of you. So they're all toxic, but it's toxic to you for how much you let it affect you.
I think this is where wisdom comes. Where you kind of see the things and you're just like, okay, I will use this side right now, or another side, like masculine or female.
And wisdom is it because as you grow, you realize that like, oh my God, it's wrong with you talking to me. Now that didn't even affect you. So the growth is amazing.
Would you say that, just going from based on what you guys are saying, that toxicity is conditioned upon you or compounded into you, and where you feel as if there's conscious awareness that you can rid yourself of that toxicity. Right? You know, I'm just going based off of what your answers are. Yes. And would you also say, in regards to that external, say it's that it does come from males toxicity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or no, or just males in general?
I was saying
just say toxicity.
Yeah, okay.
Period.
So toxicity, period, right? Yeah, okay. So any type of toxicity, period, from an external form that is placed upon you, whether it's conditioned or compounded or whatever, any type of conditioning, would you be able to say, again, with some type of consciousness or awareness or with like internal practice, you can rid yourself of those toxic conditions? Would you say? Yeah?
I guess you could break your
For you to, I mean, in terms of your reaction, you know, because you might still end up getting feelings. So you might have to deal with them, you know what I'm saying? Because if you go into a completely different environment that's unfamiliar to you and it's just all toxic that you didn't know was, because sometimes we all go into spaces or something and it's just like a toxic whatever.
Yeah. Actually, what do you think?
I think that there's privilege in the feminine essence, and I think that not all feminine energy is created equal. Not all women are created equal. And I think that this dates back so far that I think feminine energy can have this tendency to utilize that privilege, and I think that can make it toxic. So I feel like, to answer your question, we can be conscious about something, but this toxicity in feminine essence dates back to the dawn of time. So it's embedded in our DNA, it's embedded in our subconscious being. So although bringing consciousness to it can change it, I question how deeply, because I think if that were the case, then we wouldn't be discussing toxic femininity today. So I argue with that, not only here, but within myself, of that conscious versus unconscious, survival versus what I know in my wisdom. So.
You need a notepad?
I know. Sorry. Jeff, read responses. Oh, sorry. My goodness. Okay, here we go. So we have from Adriana, it's caused by generational female expectations, not as a byproduct of male expectations. D-Rock says, yes, with those who are not in touch with their masculine and feminine, it is an illusion, in my opinion, born in society and upbringing. Kristen says, agree with society and upbringing. Adriana says, but that expectation is also held of woman by woman. We judge each other, and that is also toxic. Susanna says, lots of toxicity between women with envy and competition. Our space joined, what? What? Jeffrey responses. Where else are we? Okay, cool, yeah. That.
On the, I guess like what stood out to me is like talking about like the females talk to each other, typically comes from an expectation that we feel on ourselves of, I'm tall, I have larger feet, she's skinny and easier. Males are be more intense, I have a strong masculine. So I think that's also built externally. And then embedded even from our parents, like our mothers as well, because it goes back generational past them. So then we're now connected from our upbringing, from what history has done for years and years. But I think as natural born creatures, if we were just completely fresh without that history, I don't think we'd be coming at each other and feminine energy like that. I don't think that'd be an expectation. I think that we're born with that light, acceptance, and beauty, and that's been damaged.
I think you're
Right.
and toxic masculinity.
Damaged by the patriarchy and toxic masculinity.
Because again, they did it.
Damn you, man. You man. All right, so now moving on to the next question. So we do all of us agree that the pain or the join in? Hey, join in.
I felt you.
Right?
On the ground, yeah. Just. Can you go in my car and grab it?
We're all friends here.
I chairs in the back, right? Did I grab one?
It's okay, I'm fine. I sit down.
Anyways, oh no, come through. I really want you to be.
Jesus.
No. It's no. You're fine. We're just creating.
He's grabbing one. All right. Anyway, so the next question I wanted to say. Well, you guys basically answered it, but I wanted to make sure it was an everyone thing. So we say the next question was, where did it come from? I heard toxic masculinity and patriarchy. Do we all agree on that?
Where it originates from?
For where it originated from?
That's what I'm asking, or we're just saying, we were just saying.
Yeah, I guess that's why I'm asking where it originated from. Is from patriarchy and toxic masculinity.
I think religion.
Huh?
I think religion.
Religion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also,
Like I know.
that's what is what I was going to also say. But a lot of religion we still are run by males for the most part. So would you all say patriarchy and for toxic masculinity? And if you disagree, please say something. It's just so we can understand. It's okay if there's conflicting views. You know, we can agree to disagree as well. So
I think it comes from that, but also wealth, right? Like
wealth. You said?
wealth.
Well,
So if you think about if we just think of societies for a minute, how societies rise and how societies fall, we're talking about a society that's run by people who have their own best interests, right? And so sometimes we become a part of a system that we have no say in, right? Who has the say in those spaces? Think about America in general, right? We live in a capitalistic society that's run by money. And so if it benefits the goal of more money, then that's what they're going to keep on doing, right? For example, it benefits the beauty industry to say beauty is straight hair, beauty is light skin, beauty is, ridding yourself of freckles or any imperfections that you have. There is money, there is expectation that children are ingrained with from the minute they come out of the womb, right? So you have to also think about what can you realistically protect children from, right? Even, children that identify as male, they're told don't cry, right? They're told don't be feminine. Why? Right? And I think that's an important piece of it too, is who's fighting, but the people who it benefits to have the system in place.
Yeah. So you say wealth as well, and then most of you say patriarchy and toxic masculinity, correct?
Who holds most of the wealth?
Huh?
Who holds most of the wealth?
Sorry, say that.
Who holds most of the
Who holds
wealth?
most of the wealth?
Yeah.
Right?
And then that, like, the thought of the beauty and everything that goes along that is that standard set. So it's right, yeah, it just circles right back.
Now, why? Why is it the males that are toxic? What is it about them that create toxicity that damages the females, the woman and the sisterhood, almost corrupting your authenticity or magic as women?
You said it.
Why? Why and or what is it that corrupted, damaged the authenticity, the magic of women, females, the feminine energy? I guess what, why, how, per se?
I feel like it has a lot to do with like the standards. I feel like a lot of what we've been talking, whether it's wealth, men, female, where the toxicity stems from. I think people perceive toxicity in a different way. It's a perceived thing that we may all feel or individuals might feel. But going off your question, I feel like there's a lot of toxicity in the standards that have been set by men. You know, and that, like we were talking about, like history too. Like I feel like the standards of society, even today and throughout history, have been toxic. It's women are supposed to be this, women are supposed to be that. Like, and there's toxicity within that, whether it comes from men, women, wealth, power, whoever. You can find toxicity in anywhere, and I don't think it necessarily has to deal with one aspect of that. But I think a big contributing aspect is the role that men have played in women's lives in setting those standards.
Okay, so can we speak on specific standards? I would say if everyone, I'm sure you all have many, but what are one for each of you, if you can think of one? What is one thing that you feel that males play a big role or mostly a role in corrupting or controlling or oppressing or silencing women?
I mean, they've been silencing us since the beginning of time, right? They've been silencing us since the beginning of time, right? And like, we didn't have the right to vote. We, couldn't speak up at home. Our opinions didn't matter. We had to be second. And so that's obviously changing. Our society has changed, but those things are still in existence. And those ideas of men needing to be the superior leader are still in existence. And that also comes from male fragility as well too, which is part of their toxicity. So I don't know if that was necessarily one thing, but I mean, I think it's so interwoven.
I think a personal one would be cheating and not making you feel like you're worthy.
You said cheating.
Cheating.
Might feel both ways though.
Huh?
That go way up both ways though.
I love that. The male toxicity, you said to give an example of that.
Okay, that's what I was just asking, like, if you're talking about the toxicity.
Yeah.
So even like when a female is to cheat on a male, do you feel that's their toxic masculinity within the female that that's coming from too?
I think sexuality is a big one, or sex in general. Sex sells, right? But who does sex sell to? So I have this notion where I feel like, and I think this is all very cultural based. I think in our specific culture, sensuality is for us, sexuality is for men. And I think there's such a standard pushed on women to be this, right? Every commercial, every billboard, every book that you open, social media is tailored to look at how sexy this woman is. But it's not necessarily tailored towards women. It's for men. So I think sexuality, in my observation at least, is one pivotal area where it's like male dominated.
Just one more thought, like as we're like talking about like everything and everyone's sharing, talking about culture and talking about history and talking about time, everyone being in their skin. Like, some people may have had to use that toxic energy for survival, you know, to help their family or to help put them in another position that will take them out of being toxic. You know, and of course, in many ways now, there's still different ways that people may entertain feeling that the survival mode of doing something else that's toxic to help their family, you know. So I think that has to part of it too. But again, who has the wealth? Who's in the position that's not in a way like wanting to be a community, you know, which is like setting these standards, separating us to have these toxic relationships,
Right.
you know. So like just in terms of talking as we're talking, that space of survival, like we're all trying to survive right now, and that's a generational thing, you know. Just where are we gonna live? Like in one point of history, like it wasn't legal to sell homes to Black people, you know what I'm saying? So how are we surviving? Where are we living at if we can't buy a home? So like, and then just continue, and that's stemming from something that's holding some toxic space that is now embedded in our genes, you know, just in terms of our conversation, like thinking about and reflecting on that space, that's something to put into account as well.
I think that plays on the privilege I was speaking of.
Right, exactly.
As women of color, we're women, right? And we have this feminine essence, but it's different from the white woman. So even within that, there's tiers and there's different privilege and oppression, even within feminine essence.
Right.
It's really interesting you say that, is because in regards of toxicity, I was talking to my mom about this, and she's so blunt. She's like, you call it toxicity, I call it survival instinct, I call it working through adversity. She's like, because we as Black women have had to learn how to survive more than males have. And she speaks about, which makes me question, I'm like, is it really toxic, or is it just your survival instinct? Because you can survive, and a lot of us know how to survive by constantly being in danger. And if our mind is in constant danger, then we're in constant survival mode. And so we will do what we need to do to survive. So is that really toxic, or it's just that our animalistic instinct? I don't know. Does that make sense?
It's flipping the script on the toxicity.
Yeah.
That toxicity exists, but how am I going to use this toxicity to my benefit, right? And women have had to do that. I mean, even in Hollywood, like, it was very toxic in that nature, but that's how they, you know, to get ahead and make it, they had to play into that toxicity. Yeah, it's survival, but it, you know, it's still toxic, but, you know, people have to play into that toxicity to survive.
It's an unhealthy defense mechanism.
Right.
Healthy relationship.
Right. I'm going to answer some questions from over here. We have Adriana that says, for me, it comes from the natural human instinct of competition and assessment. We as women judge each other more than any man can judge us, if nothing else by comparison. And then Adriana says again, by expectation, be it our own or those of others. Women expect a certain set of behaviors from women. Our mothers and grandmothers had the same experience of expectation. Does that make sense? Should I read? Yeah, cool. Something else. So just to load that up, is there anyone who wants to also speak about an example of how, or what, or a specific thing of how males have created, or not created, but created, also damaged and or corrupted women, or suppressed or silenced?
I was gonna say that I feel like they do it to myself as well. Like, boys, I have a little brother, and he is always told by his father that he needs to be a certain way and needs to not wear his hair in a top ponytail and not cry for too long and things like that. And I feel like a lot of those, a lot of people already said that a lot of the issues come from them, but they do it to themselves as well. And it's, I mean,
Yeah, no, makes sense.
Sons is very different than what we tell our daughters historically, right? We tell our sons to go out, sleep with whoever you want, have a great time, but we tell our daughters, no, you have to stay virginal, you can't, just, so all of that double standard plays into that toxicity as well too.
I once heard someone say, we raise our daughters, but we love our sons. And I heard that from a mother, and it was just like a panel of men, and the silence from this woman of saying that to these men, and they were like, yeah, just sitting in that, right, of like, we raise our daughters to not walk alone at night, right? We raise our daughters to make themselves small, to ask for help, right? You don't have to figure out how to do it on your own. That's what men are for, right? But we love our sons. We don't teach them some things, right? Because that's what women are for. And I have younger siblings, and to see that come out of them, right? And to have to stop myself when I just want to say, let me just do it for you, right? To say, no, I can live in the knowing that we do this for survival, and we do this because we've had to do it, but how can I stop? How can I change this? How can I stop accepting this as my reality and saying, okay, this exists, but I need to work beyond that, because I need for the women who come after me, right, to have better than what I did. And I think it doesn't come from, we have to do a lot of internal work, but it also is a lot of community work. And I don't think as women, while we know this internally, we don't sit down and talk about it. We don't sit down and talk about, like, when you go out, you don't dress for men, you dress for women. Why? Why do you feel the need, or why do you feel that there's an expectation that you need to look a certain way when you're a group of women? And how is that different when you're a group of men?
That makes a lot of sense. Something I wanted to share is this lovely lady was shared something that I really appreciated a lot, and I was like, whoa. So I just want to read it to everyone because it makes a point, which is what I would like to speak about after that. She says, it was not witches who burned, it was women. Women who were seen as too beautiful, too outspoken, had too much water in the well, yes, seriously, had a birthmark. Women who were too skilled with herbal medicine, too loud, too quiet, too much red in her hair. Women who had strong nature connection. Women who danced, women who sung, or anything else really. Sisters testified and turned on each other when their babies were held under ice. Children were tortured to confess their experiences with witches by being fake executed in ovens. Women were held underwater, and if they float, they were guilty and executed. They sunk and drowned, they were innocent. Women were thrown off cliffs. Women were put in deep holes in the ground. To start off this madness was years of famine, war between religions, and lots of fear. The churches said that witches, demons, and the devil did exist, and women were nothing but trouble. As we see, even there is often a scapegoat created. Everything connected to a woman became feared, especially her sexuality. It became labeled as dark and dangerous and was the core of the witch trials throughout the world. sorry, lost my place, throughout the world, when we are doing the healing work of our lineages, and as women, to give women who were slaughtered a voice, to give them redress and a chance of peace. It was not witches who burned, it was women. And so that's what she wrote. And I was like, whoa. Oh my God. And the reason why I appreciated that so much is because I'm a weirdo. I like to study this stuff, especially in regards to their witch trials. And my mom and just the woman in my life has just taught me so much who were like mothers. And to me, it resonated a lot. So I'm not going to go deep into it because I can just talk about it forever. But something I want to speak about that my mom has taught me, which is what got me into natural herbal remedies, is she said the earth has given us as women a gift to tap into something that men can't. So when men are injured, it's not medicine that is chemically created that's going to heal them. It's us that's connected to the earth that will heal them. I was like,
Yeah.
you're my mom! What do you mean?
Yeah, while listening to this, I was just like, men's just trying to protect themselves and trying to make us more little than them so they have more control of it. Because if they would like cherish us, like all the beauty and that like magic and all that gonna come out, and they're like, what are we gonna do now? I go and like just throw from the cliff. You know, I think they just don't know.
There's a writing artist, John, and she has a song, and in the song she says, the persecution of the feminine is the reason for the state the world is in. And I strongly believe that, and that's the persecution of the feminine in female-identified bodies and male as well. And that is the problem with the world.
And to lead on to the next thing from that,
Hang on, can I come back to your question?
go ahead.
You were saying like the influence of toxic masculinity.
Yes.
Because I've just been simmering on like wording on it. I'm thinking about strength. How like in like masculine and males, strength is important, and the guys want to be strong, they want to be built, they want to be strong. You see a female become built and strong, and they don't like it, they're intimidated, the power, the control goes away, and then the toxicity within ourselves of not even like offended, but we're like, wow, there's something wrong with us because we want to be that way. It can build our masculine up, not in a healthy way. So now our masculinity is more toxic because we're putting blocks and boundaries and walls because we're like, no, I'm gonna be strong and be who I am. And then the femininity, typically like, for myself, like it's fighting internally. But imbalance helps create such like toxic on both sides of our feminine. Because then it touches base on like, oh, maybe I'm not so beautiful. Strong. And then we forget this thing. Strength that we carry, the natural nurturing strength in that, is something that the men typically is something that they say, I have it, I'm strong, but I'm not supposed to cry. Which is also strength.
So to tag off of that, two things I was going to say. Something I've heard a lot, because I live in this apartment complex, and I have this family next door downstairs who plays with their grandson a lot. And I hear him playing, and I'm like, wow. And the first thing I heard when he was like, or the first thing I felt in my mind and in my body when he said, oh, you're gonna throw like that? You throw like a girl. You don't wanna throw like a girl, do you? And I walked outside my porch, and I saw the wife sitting there reading her book, and him be like, oh, you girl, this is a boy. And then I was like, wow, we don't even know how unconscious we are of masculinity, you know? And I'm like, throw like a girl, what does that mean? What does that mean? And they the kid is laughing, ha, and he doesn't think anything of it, but that's how it grows, right? Once you get used to it, because I remember that used to be me. That used to be, you run like a girl. I don't want to throw like a girl, blah, blah, all this stuff like a girl. Now I'm like, what did that even mean? Like, where did that even come from? Because not even my father was, I'm not going but I was just like, wow, so that's an example I wanted to bring out is fathers playing with their children, and whether it's women or whether it's boys, boys, because boys never grow up, just kidding. Something I find very interesting is that it plays whether it's others teaching them like, oh no, honey, you need to dress because that's what girls are supposed to do, wear dresses. The girl's like, I don't get in the dirt. No, you need to be pretty, don't get dirty. I'm trying to get dirty, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Well, the males and the females, so it's just like, it's these things that I'm seeing like, wow, there seems to be such a block and limitation in regards to our authenticity as human beings, naturally, to just do what we feel to do, but is separated with this notion of what a male is supposed to be and what a female is supposed to be. And I'm just like, why? Why does that even matter? It's like, I forget who says, when we come up from the womb, we're told exactly how to be and what to do and why to do it. But when we're being authentic as children, we are just honest, just completely transparent. You have a big head, don't say that, that's me. No, it's honest. It's just honest, you know what I mean? It's again, the truth is supposed to make you aware, not happy. That's something I say a lot, the truth is meant to make you aware, not happy. If a kid says, oh, you have a big head, it doesn't mean you actually, it's just that's their perspective. They have the right to their own perspective. Like, you tell a child from the age of 1 till however old, no, you can't have that perspective. Now that limits them from being any type of human being that's really authentic to them, whether it's male or female. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I feel like that plays a huge part. And then the second thing I wanted to go is something I want to, because I have a feeling, I was waiting for someone to bring this up, but I'm not sure if it's going to be brought up, is we say that men have always been like this since the beginning of time. Yes? I have to disagree with this.
Yeah, not the beginning.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was going to say because it was not. Yeah. If we follow history, in Africa, men were not like this. South Africa, West Africa, even East Africa. East Africa, very quiet. Yes, there were many tribes that do you want to speak about it?
I mean, I don't know too much in depth. I just know that, for example, when you look at different religions and spirituality, and when I say religion, I just mean the structured organization and such, right? That's really all religion is. There were more than one God, right? And females or feminine energy was also embedded in those gods. So it was never a competition. It was never one God is better than the other. Everyone had their role, right? So that's, I don't know how much you want me to say. But women are just respected as who they are and the strengths that they carry, and vice versa. I feel like there's just an understanding to everyone's strength and weaknesses as well. Where can we carry each other? Where can't you help me in this way, whereas I can help you in that way? I just have to do with culture and colonization because not everyone or every culture thought that way about women. It's very specific, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So the reason why I said that is because there are 234 tribes made it. There's a lot of tribes in Africa, by the way. 234 tribes, biggest tribes. Can't pronounce it. I'll spell it for you. I can't pronounce it though. That worked in a unionship with women. So, yes, the man would go out and get the food, and the woman would do the nurturing work. Yeah, even in dance culture, there's nurturing movement where women celebrated their waist. Again, another thing my mom taught me is we need to celebrate from here because here can create, here can destroy, here has the power, here can control. Here we can do anything with this. This is all we need to have. We control men, we can create life, we can remove life, we can heal from there, we even use a part of this space to create remedies for the rest of the world. And people don't even know. I was like, huh? And now I'm like, oh, I get it. And so just going back to the whole duality of men and women is, I don't feel, and well, there's also historical information from certain tribes that worked with taking care of a woman. That men, when women were pregnant, they would take care of them. You said, I do the cooking. Actually, men knew how to cook. They were supposed to cook. Yes, women weren't supposed to do anything. And so when women were delivering babies, it was men who helped them stand up. In certain tribes, they would help them stand up and have them deliver the baby, and then the woman would be the one who would catch them, clean them, and do a lot of the wonderful things when it comes to that. And I thought that was really interesting. And then there's even through certain, like you were speaking about gods, there's certain gods that are appreciated that were women. Yeah, even in Indians, there were Indians that had gods that were women, and women actually were open to sacrifice because they were like, I'm so powerful. If I give my life, I know this will give power, or not power, wealth to my entire tribe. Yes, this was something that was in Indian and African culture, not African culture, certain tribes in West Africa and South Africa, specifically from the southern and eastern part of Ghana, tribes named K and I'll send it to you. But that's why I just wanted to speak on that in regards of it. It's not all men. Yes, it was, and I can't say, and I feel like I have to speak my and say it's not from the beginning because it's there. Huh?
You're not born that way. You even said it's like feminine, we're born like nurturing, not to be at each other. Males aren't born that way.
Right. And so there's a complete opposite factor, which is beautiful. And I think that's also what's beautiful about the duality of the separation between males and females. But that's just something I want to speak about real quick.
That goes back to what Nicole said about they recognized how powerful we were, and they tried to contain and shrink that power and that beauty. So that's more what I meant. So I know that women have those capabilities, but the reason why we've been, so, taken away from that is because of male suppression.
I think it also heavily goes back because other countries, that's true way back when but westernized culture and colonization refers back to where did Eve come from? From the rib of a man. Why were they not created at the same time? Why was Eve not created and then Adam was made from Eve? So in westernized culture, which has been colonized into the United States, men is man, right? Woman comes from man. So I think a lot of it is a cultural too.
Interesting too, because my family's from Jamaica and it's a very toxic masculine culture. But at the same time, they have these other elements where like the men do know how to cook. When my mom was pregnant, my mom took care of her and did all of the cooking. So it's like this mixture of like, colonized culture, but also elements of maybe what was there prior.
That'd be interesting. So I was going to say, for the thing, have you ever, have you ever, have you ever projected your toxicity onto males and or females?
Yes.
That may have been derived off of male toxicity. If so, what and how? And or why? If you don't know why, then.
I have a younger brother. He was 14. And when he was younger, he still is. He's bullied. He's in middle school. Middle school stuff. That's why if you didn't know. And I'm the oldest. He's the youngest. We share a birthday. And he would always. My mom got sick when he was born, and so he called me mom. Very, very close. Got older, and he would come and he would hug me. Didn't matter who was there, who wasn't there. But then I noticed that wasn't changing, right? That he went from 9 to 10, from 10 to 11, and it was still very loving, hugging. Like in my culture, we kiss, right? You kiss as a greeting, you kiss as a goodbye, and it got to the point where I had to say, you can't do that anymore. And he was like, but why? Because the first thing I taught him was, you always ask why. Doesn't matter who they are, you ask why. And it was really hard to tell him because society won't accept you. Who you are, environment that you are, in a very close-minded community that you live. There is a world outside of here, but baby boy, you have a long time before you get there. And to get there, you have to be here. And so it's been hard. It's been hard to have a conversation with my brother because it's like this very loving energy and nurturing energy to say, you can't be your whole self. You can't be your whole self because the world will eat you up. So you need to get to a place where you can be what society needs right now so that you can get to that space where you can be your whole self later. And that's really hard.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
In a bigger picture.
Yeah.
How was the rest of you? Any toxicity you've ever projected onto someone else, whether male or female?
I feel like I do it all the time. Like, babe, can you carry these groceries? Or like, change the oil in like that damsel in distress, right? Like, can you carry this week? But like, on my terms, like, really, I'm strong, I can do this, but also like, this is heavy carry for me, and I think that's a utilization of like my feminine essence.
How would you say that's toxic?
Because I think it's playing to my advantage. It goes back to what I said about my privilege. I can get away with something like that. We realize that damsel in distress essence and it's not questioned. If you were to ask your male friend, can you carry this to me, he might look at you like, what are your arms broken? But I have asked you to carry something and you won't question it. Why? Right? So that's why I say it's utilization of the toxicity.
Females take advantage of that?
Of the damsel in distress aspect. Absolutely.
Interesting. What for the rest of you?
Absolutely, I'm just trying to like both, and I know like I'm absolutely, I'm like 1,000% purposely built up. I feel like my masculine lock is something I'm working on. My masculine and use it against men to set my boundaries, but not in healthy ways. Almost like hoping my masculinity will belittle you, so you know how I feel. Like, yeah, I don't know, like, can't even just pick out a time. We were joking in rehearsals like how like I can just like stand up to somebody, and I'm like I'm working on belittling by my energy, my aura, and I know that's not a positive thing. No, it's not embracing it. It's using it negatively. So I'm like, yeah, and then of course like, yeah, of course that's it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Fantastic. How about us? How about people from here? Yeah. Oh, we got some answers. Hold up. We have by Chelsea. Basing a woman's value solely on her appearance is one way the patriarchy corrupts the feminine. Not sure if this has already been said. Men are conditioned to put themselves and their goals first, and women are conditioned to put everyone else before themselves. Love that. I don't know, but you love control. D-Rock says control. Yes, it's another word for fear amongst some men within our understanding to let go of control as men and understand trust and to let go and unbelief ourselves and be naked and unfeel ourselves. As human being, a universal soul as we have relearned ourselves as our spirit and energy. Lavanya says fire, fire, fire. Speak and Kata. Oh, goddess. Tribe of Levi. Adriana says, I'm a Celt, Druid, and women are quite revered in our faith. Women and men share equal power. The same for the Viking Norse culture. Who else? Boston Street Party. Hi, Jeff. Okay, cool. Oh, wait.
What's up now?
We can't hear very well while they talk with masks. Oh, can you guys just speak up, or if you want to blah 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 blah. Yeah. Anyways, we don't have that much time left anyway, so. Anyone projected?
I think in my judgments towards others before I realized what BS had been instilled and imposed upon me as a child by my very sexist father. And I think so those early judgments about like other girls and what they were doing with their bodies, and that now I feel like so guilty and remorseful about even having those judgments about another woman. But definitely, yeah, that was definitely toxicity because I mean it came from the patriarchy. It was towards us. I've come a long way from there. I recently wrote an article about Cardi B's song "WAP" and supporting her in all of her sexuality and choices. But I think, yeah, definitely in my judgments of women or in my early year as a young woman. Yeah.
This is not on here, but how do you guys feel about when she came out with the song WAP?
I was like, okay, girl. I think people should. I was like, rest yourself.
It makes me jump out my seat. So if you can make me feel good, all to you.
I was like, wow, this was the next best thing after my neck. My crack. And then she came out with that. I was like, oh, that's true. I was like, damn, touch the thing to the back of my throat. Oh, I was like, okay.
Alright. And all the sound effects that are like in the song, like production is on point.
I was like, wow, good for you.
To talk about, toxic masculinity, I had a boyfriend at the time that song came out, and we used to sing it together. And his brother was like, "Oh, she has you singing that song too? Don't sing along. Like you're singing along to that."
Something I wanted to share as toxic whatever that's been projected on me, because I've had a bunch of male friends were like, can you ask them these questions? And I was like, okay, but I'm gonna ask these questions first. And so one thing that's been projected onto me is whenever I try to be a male figure that is trying to either protect and or nurture and or love and or support the female, there has been negative repercussions or responses. I'll give 3 examples. One is helping someone pick up a bag that they dropped. Don't touch my bag, I can do it myself, I'm a woman. Okay, opening up the door, I'm like, I can get that, I don't need your help. Okay. Another one was, she was literally carrying a bunch of bags on her arms like this. Beasting it, I was like, go ahead, sis. And I saw that she had 4 more bags, and she was trying to put it in her arm, and her arm was like about to fall, and she had glass inside. And I was like, oh, you're about to drop that, let me help you. And she's like, I'm a woman, can you see that I can carry it? And I'm like, you're literally holding 8 bags on each arm, and then you added 4 more on one side. And I was like, I get it, you're strong. Let me help you. Let me help you. I was like, I just want to help, because as she gets it, she's like, yeah, I picked up 4 more. And I was like, and walking towards the door, and I'm like, oh, it's about to fall. So you know when something about to fall, and you're like, and you just go for it. And so I'm like, I got you. And she responded in a way that was just very negative, and I was just so taken back. I was like, so do I not help protect or nurture women? And it's not just in helping ways, it's in ways where even being nurturing towards women, and be like, you can cry on my shoulder, like, I got you, or let me protect you, or don't speak to her like that. I can stand up for myself, I'm a woman, I'm like, okay. And so these are questions not just from me, but also from other, from males, where like, how is that wrong? Like, why is that a thing?
So I think it goes back to what you were saying about just like that, that masculine side or something. And I don't think that's all of that answer to that question, but I think for some women it can be that. It's a defense mechanism, right? They don't want to be vulnerable with men because, maybe that hasn't gotten them in good places in the past. So there's, that masculine energy maybe comes out more because it's like, I don't need you. And realistically, women, we don't. We can do a lot of these things on our own. Like, we choose to allow you to nurture us and care for us. But yeah, I think that's part of it. But I think when we stop looking at feminine energy and masculine energy as, polar opposites and rather something that happens together, then, women in those scenarios you mentioned will be more receptive to someone helping carry the bag, right? Because it's not, you're doing this because you think I'm a woman and I'm weak, but you're doing this because you're mean and you see that I'm struggling. So
I think the key word in that is choose. Did you ask before you did it? Or did you assume that that's what they wanted?
If the bag is dropping, again, going back to a human being, like, you see somebody like struggling, you're gonna naturally pick it up. And that goes for either or. Like, I'll see a man struggling with something, could be anything, literally, and I'm gonna go and help you. So I think it's just a matter of pride and just going back to traumas that women have gone through when it came to being vulnerable with other people, especially males.
I would say for you guys to keep doing it.
Wait, pause, hold on. I didn't know if you were going to finish, didn't interrupt her.
No, I was done.
Okay.
No, I think that the guys that are doing it, I think you should still do that because that energy is needed clearly. Yeah, I think it's still needed, and then just have that as a note in your mind that it's not you. Still be your human, still be yourself, because it's needed because they didn't have it.
It could be I'm going to prove society wrong, right? Because a lot of people, when people are oppressed and the world says you can't do this, you can't do that, we do it, and we do it with pride, right? And so I think it's not necessarily always that, fear of like ability or showing a weaker side or a softer side. It can also be, you said I can't do this, fuck you, I'm gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
I've also like, and depending too, because if it's like a random guy and I'm like kind of by myself or whatever, I don't know what their intentions are. I'll be like, no, I'm good. I'm straight. I'm already there.
Right.
I don't like regulation, but I'm good.
So like, it kind of depends on the energy, of course, but sometimes you don't know. And we're masked now, so we don't know how anything is right now. So that, I know I've done that probably at times. Just like, I'm not sure, thank you, I'm good.
You don't know their intentions.
Right. Yeah. So yeah.
I'll say if they're a good friend, it's important to me that they ask because they don't know the trauma that I've been through. Right? A loving hug, an embrace, a let me help you can trigger something. And so when that's not asked, right, you don't know what's going on. And so for me, male, female, whatever, it's not so much I got it, but why are they saying that? Is there a way that I can bring that up later? Because, they said it, right? It's evoking something in me. But does that mean that now I have to take that extra step to say like, hey, there's been a couple times where, is this a boundary for you? Right? And respecting that boundary if it's a boundary. Male or female, I think it's important to have that conversation. It's different when it's someone.
So you would say when it's someone close, is the conversation about those boundaries that may trigger those traumas. Something I've shared with conversations, I've had discussions with men about this topic is what I said, and let me know if you feel differently. And I'm like, well, do you blame them? Do you blame them from responding from a place of pain because all they've been through for eons and centuries and generations is being harassed, mutilated, exploited, killed, raped, sexually abused, and used in so many different aspects of life that it's almost as if they don't have any trust in any type of men anymore. And so if you feel you're being responded in a way where it is negative, accept it and transform it as opposed to responding back with pain. Because if you respond back with pain, we're going to continue doing this, and we've been doing this for years. For too long. It's about time we create a unionship and where we work with each other, because there's already people in higher places that are doing the thing to continue that separation between gender, between race, between this, between just so much separation, so when I speak to certain guys, I'm just like, listen to that pain, understand that pain, and realize where it comes from. Because if they're responding back to you, because maybe it's not you, but something that has to do with you, that almost triggers that pain. So if I almost think of it like the race problem. Yeah, when someone says something to me that their person messes whatever to me is white, and I may get upset with them, I'm like, it's not you. It's you didn't do anything specifically. It's your ignorance, but your innocent ignorance, because it's ours that has done something to me and my ancestors that still sits in me and almost in my DNA, so it triggers something out of me. And so, although it's not you, there's a forgetting the word, an intergenerational trauma reoccurrence that happens, as well as an intergenerational trauma that goes through as well as an unconsciousness that happens through you. And so that creates that conflict, I would say, yeah, that separation. But I'm using that as an example in regards to speaking in that whole idea of just masculine, feminine aspects of almost like not saying take it, accept it, and be like, oh, it's all my fault, but just accept their pain and realize that it's whether it's you or not you, it comes from hurt, ridicule, and it's important to respond back with love, compassion, as well as being present and conscious of how you interact with them, so you are not creating more conflict. Does that make sense?
It does,
Yeah.
but what I was gonna say, Jeff, is what men also have to realize is that women don't always have to be vulnerable. They get to choose. They get to pick and selectively choose when they want to be vulnerable. So if you approach a woman or compliment a woman or offer to help a woman and she doesn't want your help that necessarily because she's been hurt or because it's because she doesn't want to choose to smile, doesn't want to choose to interact today. So women also have a choice. So, men also have to respect that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Like, we all have choices. Just because someone doesn't want your help or doesn't want to exchange with you doesn't mean you have to take it personal, right? I feel that's something we may do a lot, is take things personally when it has nothing sometimes to do with you. It's like, I was just trying to be nice. And you're like, I just don't want your help. Like, I just generally can do it by myself, or maybe I want to try myself. I don't know. It's something important. But that's just something I've shared with other males. But that's just something. Oh, hello. You're so adorable. Thank you.
Good night, Bobby.
I appreciate you. Like when I first met her, I was like, she just like nurtures my soul. Like, she was so giving. She was like, you want to put us? I'm gonna get y'all like $1,000. I'm just get everyone. I was like, thank you. She was so sweet. She's so giving and loving. Like she gave me this necklace. I felt like she was wearing. I'm so kind. But yeah, so in regards of what I was saying to the men, does that make sense? Like I said, if you're like, no, I'm not, please say something to me.
I think it makes sense. I wanted to touch back on when you were like, no, keep going, keep trying, keep doing that. And like, even if you're on that way, keep asking or building up the trauma that you guys have experienced in your life as well. So talk. Or try to have a conversation. Don't be afraid to talk, because it's not just like, it's not like, oh, women just have to heal themselves, men just have to heal themselves, or she has healing, he has healing. It's when it's all together as a community. So I don't have I have worked to not have an expectation for a man to help me in that way. But I also learned to not push it away, because it's, like I said, I guess it can just build on their end, and then there can also be resentment that stems from that. So to stop resentment at a certain spot, like, have a conversation. So these guys are asking you, ask your friends, ask your people that you're close to. If they don't want to talk about it, that's fine, but you're gonna find somebody that will open up. And you'll learn from the people who say that they don't want to talk about it too. Like, you just learned something right there. But yeah, like, yes, keep doing it, but don't let that take from you either. To expect that.
That makes sense. Something I was going to say too, so like bring it to a closing because we're a little over time. First, I want to say thank you guys for just like sharing your ideas and thoughts, and as well as like your truths and perspectives. So it's a lot has happened throughout history where, like you guys have said, the patriarchy, toxic masculinity, has played a huge part in the damage of females or the feminine energy identified bodies. And I feel it's important to recognize as well as continue these conversations here, but with our other fellow males and females, you know. Something that I feel is really important is being present as well as knowing when to apologize as well as forgive. So something I wanted to say was I want to apologize on behalf of all men to all of you for mistakes and unconscious actions that I have done, because a lot of things that we have done we are not aware of. So I truly believe in is once, second, we suppressed, silenced, got rid of, pushed away females, women, girls, the feminine energy, we also destroy ourselves. And with that, we never learned to tap into something that's inside of us that helped us tap into how we can truly connect with you all. The female body, the feminine identified bodies or energies. And I feel it's important to apologize because, and it may not do anything, it's not to do something, but it's to recognize that there are people out there to create a union between the male and female. Because although there is an individuality in the greatness of the feminine and the masculine, at the end of the day, I feel like we need each other. We need that duality, that companionship, that union to create that equilibrium, that balance that we said, you know. And if it's the culture, if it's notions, if it's stigmas or whatever, it's really not allowing those notions, stigmas, and or conditions place us or move us in a way where we are now acting from a place of unconscious or conditions or stigmas that we think is going to be best for us, but we're being from a place of vulnerability, authenticity, and like true being from our deepest essence to connect in a way where we're connecting with each other, not as just males and females, but as human beings. Because at the end of the day, we're human beings, you know. And yeah, I just want to say there's a lot of us who are trying. A lot of us who are trying. There's a lot of us who need to learn. There's a lot of us who don't know. And if we don't know, I'm not going to ask you to be patient. Wait, I'm not going to ask you to be patient. I'm just going to ask you if you choose to be patient. That would be very, very helpful to us as males or energy, whatever. Because again, we are doing our best. And I don't speak for all of us, but I will speak for all of us, to sit with that divinity in us that can And there's so much more. But I wanted to say again, thank you guys for choosing to be you, for allowing yourself to share what you feel is your truth, your perspective, as well as just like your womanhood. You know, I've always appreciated women in life, not because I have like 6 sisters and like 1 brother, but because something I realized was I've grown up with women when I moved out of my father's, or when I didn't have a place to sleep. There was always women who were there for me, and I realized that like 5 to 6 years ago. I was like, it's never been, I can't say never, it's rarely been a male that has been like, oh, I got you, let me take care of you. But it's always been no second guessing, it's always been a mom or a friend, mostly moms who are like, come to my house, stay with me, I'll take care of you. And I'm like, why would you do such a thing? Like, why? And I'm like, wow, why? And I've always questioned why. Why? Why is it them but not them? Why? And so that's why I'm here. That why has gotten me to question things, and to understand things, and to be open to things, and learn things. And then also be more in touch with my feminine side. And be like, wow, I feel as if I'm just as much as a woman than I am a masculine as well. You know, and I feel that duality inside of me. And I used to shame as well as hide it, but I'm like, no, fuck that. You know, that's what I was taught to do, is shame and hide it. But why not embrace it? And realizing when I started embracing that is what made me connect more with my sisters, with women, with males in different ways, you know. And now males, when I connected with them, they would also show their feminine side, and we would connect in such a beautiful way. Example A, Justin. We'll sleep together naked on the same bed and have no problem with it. We'll hug each other, hold each other's asses. Be like, wow. I'm like, yeah, I know, right? Like, yeah, we've been working on it. Yeah, complimenting each other, whatever, you know. And so it's not about, it's just creating a healthy relationship throughout the duality of masculine and feminine. Even if it's 2 male bodies, you know, or 2 female bodies, or male and female, you know, there's just a duality that's just so innate and so beautiful when it does come together in a healthy way. So, right? But yeah, so again, I want to say thank you, and I appreciate y'all. I hope it helped answer many questions. Oh, that's a great question. Wow. Okay. Viking might be my jam. Might be my jam. I don't get it. Anyways. Thank you, just thank you very much. Love this open communicating. Laugh out loud. That's the new gen version of that track. Oh, I'm guessing we were talking about. Yeah. At first offended, but then I was like, okay. Defensive towards the concept of power being taken away. Ooh, no, you didn't. No, you did the right thing. Oh, helping. Women have to be willing to share their power. We aren't invulnerable. Like men can't be all the time. Neither can women. I don't share my power with my partner. How can he will share with me? Ooh. That's what we all. was like, whoa! He will share with me. If the toxic is going to go away, we have to trust and be open. Woof. Yes, ask first. That was Adriana. Adriana Love. Yes, ask first. Kristen, on situation and prisms of how men approach it. My brother. What's up, brother? Hey. I want to beat his ass one time. Let me tell you. Toxic masculine! Anyways, I'm not gonna get into it. But anyway, you guys, I'm getting off live on Instagram. I'm going to go to this next part. The next part, you have to be on Patreon. I'm not going to go on live. This needs to be more private. Tier 6 Patreon. It's on my bio. Thank y'all. Have to get off Patreon. Oh, so you can see shit. Sorry, bye. How do I end stream here? Same thing. Patreon, tier 6.